Not to put any pressure on today, but today is one of the most important days in recent history. President Vladimir Putin is flying right now to Alaska, and so is President Trump, and they are meeting to discuss ending the war, and only once the war is done will they then, or once they've committed to ending the war, will they then talk about business. And so the entire Russian envoy has been sent ahead of time. You've got Russian journalists, you've got Russian business people that are currently right now, this moment, already in Alaska, and it's pretty interesting to see how the tensions are kind of navigating this situation. It's very, very tense. One wrong move by any person, by any misguided journalist, by any bad actor, and shit could actually hit the fan very, very, very quickly. So all eyes are going to be on Alaska, which is so freaking close to Canada. Oh my God. And we have nothing. We don't even have, our fighter jets are probably still like sitting on the toilet going, oh, Russia? They're coming to Alaska? Maybe we should fly by later when we fuel up the jet or something. Anyways, Canada's part in this plays absolutely nothing. Like, Canada's is insignificant, but I'm sure Canada will have some sort of, eyes and ears on the upper west coast of our country. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Before we get into it, I do want to encourage you all to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It does tremendously help grow the channel. We got a lot of stuff to take a look at today, and it's pretty much all going to be centering around Russia, America, relations, Putin, and then also Trump did mention that Mexico is Trump's bitch, and also Canada is Trump's bitch. So yeah, there's that. Also, there's a potential new terror attack that's taking place in New York City right now. The details are unconfirmed, but an explosion was seen and heard, and lingering smoke is kind of in effect. First responders are on the scene, and that's kind of all we have right now, because this happened as I was like prepping the video. So if anyone has more information on that, please put it down in the comments. But right before Putin left Russia, he was spotted making a rare public appearance at a monument honoring U.S. cooperation during World War II. That's kind of interesting. There's no noise to it, but this is a big make or break moment here for Russia and America, who historically, I guess, since World War II, haven't really gotten along very well. But now we get to see the inside of what is kind of being the accommodations for the Russians. So Russian journalists who arrived in Alaska were not placed in a hotel, but in the lobby of Alaska Airlines Center Arena. Instead of beds, there are small cots, 2 in each room, which is basically just like a makeshift hospital kind of, barrier.
Вот так вот, дорогие друзья, и выглядит наше маленькое пристанище. Сейчас я дойду до своего уютного номера, и все вы будете мне завидовать. Точно будете завидовать. Та-дам! Вот оно, лакшери размещение журналистов Кремлевского пула. Смотрите, я даже себе маленький шкафчик организовал. Ну, а здесь вот мой сосед, Арти. Единственная, конечно, проблема, что наше место
I mean, I'm not fully surprised by that. Putting them up in hotels does seem like there could be a little bit more tensions, a little bit heightened, security issues and things like that. So that particular thing doesn't fully surprise me. But that's not the only clip that we have. We also have Russian journalists have been treated to breakfast of tuna mayo left out overnight, some chips, and unlimited supply of water from a drinking fountain.
Ночь прошла довольно спокойно, удалось даже поспать, часа 3, наверное, 3,5. Организаторы все-таки выключили свет внутри стадиона нашего импровизированного вот этого палаточного городка. Но остался довольно громкий гул, постоянный такой вытяжки. И я с просонья даже как-то подумал, что я в каком-то рефрижераторе. Очень порадовал сегодня завтрак. Чан с воздухом, немножко фруктиков и вчерашний салат с тунцом, который здесь лежит со вчерашнего дня. Ну, еще здесь была, вот она и есть, коробка с чипсами. Но, друзья, хочу отдать должное организаторам за то огромный запас абсолютно бесплатной воды. Пей не хочу.
I mean, I don't know what is to be expected. I can't imagine that Americans would have been put up in a 5-star hotel in Russia should the rules be reversed. All things considered, it's, you know, it is a big military kind of operation, even though it's journalists. It's, you know, peace talks, trying to negotiate how to, you know, fix some world problems here, which is 99% of the military is involved in this, and that's just how things work. You get cots, you get bright lighting, you get shitty food, and yeah. But now let's take a look at what President Trump has been saying this morning, because it is pretty interesting. So this particular clip is audio only. It's only a minute long, but Trump did say that Putin has come to America with a lot of business people from Russia.
We get along. There's a good respect level on both sides, and I think, you know, something's going to come of it. I notice he's bringing a lot of business people from Russia, and that's good. I like that, because they want to do business, but they're not doing business until we get the war settled.
Are you going to talk about business? Will you talk
business? We have the hottest country on earth. We have the hottest economy on earth. We have the hottest country. We just set a new stock market record again. We have hundreds of billions of dollars flowing in from tariffs. We're the hottest country. We were a dead country, dead like doornails, a dead country. 1 year ago, we were dead as a doornail, and now we have the hottest country. And he wants a piece of that, because his country is not hot economically. In fact, it's the opposite. And China's not doing well economically, but we're all, look, I want everybody to do well. The war's got to stop and the killing's got to stop.
Yeah, that's the main focus of this, and I do firmly believe that President Trump will not be engaging in any business transactions until an agreement is made. He might even just call Zelensky while they are together, and they'll just do a 3-way FaceTime or something, which would be one heck of a freaking thing to do. Like, the enemy of your enemy is your friend kind of situation. But President Trump, that was the audio version, and now we do have some video footage that has since come out of him on Air Force One talking with some reporters.
Hello, everybody. I brought a friend of yours, Brett Baer. He's here. Brett, how you doing? How are you?
What will make a success of this summit today?
I can't tell you that. I don't know. It's there's nothing set in stone. I want certain things. I want to see a ceasefire. This is not to do with Europe. Europe's not telling me what to do. But they're going to be involved in the process, obviously, as will Zelensky. But I want to see a ceasefire rapidly. I don't know if it's going to be today, but I'm not going to be happy if it's not today. Everyone said it can't be today, but I'm just saying I want the killing to stop. I'm in this to stop the killing. You know, we're not putting up any money. We're making money. They're buying our weapons, and we're sending them to NATO, and NATO's sending us big, beautiful checks. But that, I don't care about that. I care about, it was a big factor when Biden spent $350 billion and got nothing. But what I do care about is they lost last week, 7,011 people were lost, almost all soldiers. 36 people in a town which got hit by a missile. But over 7,000 soldiers. It's crazy.
Could you describe a little bit, Mr. President, because I know you've had a lot of phone calls with President Putin. What's the difference in a face-to-face, in-person meeting?
Look, he's a smart guy, been doing it for a long time, but so have I. Been doing it for a long time. And here we are with President. That was much more difficult than what I'm doing today, believe me. So
that's a weird question. I mean, the answer is quite simple, right? It's just like, you know, when you're hanging out with your buddies and then you're talking on the phone from hundreds of miles or thousands of miles away and apart from each other. Yeah, you're still buddies, and not that Trump and Putin are buddies, but you still have communication. You still have, you know, a form of a relationship, but in person is always the best. Like, we're not robots, man. We're human. And that's just how shit is done in this world, right?
Possibility of the United States providing security guarantees to Ukraine.
Maybe. Along with Europe and other countries. Not in the form of NATO, because that's not going to, you know, there are certain things that aren't going to happen. But yeah, along with Europe, there's a possibility of that.
Mr. President, the number of business people that President Putin is bringing along, is that something that you want to discuss with President Putin at this meeting?
Yeah, if we make progress, I would discuss it, because that's one of the things that they would like. They'd like to get a piece of what I built in terms of the economy. Just so you know, we were a dead country with our economy. He wouldn't be interested. He wouldn't have been interested a year ago with the Biden economy. But
that's a fact. That's actually an irrefutable fact. Under the Biden or under a Democratic administration, Russia has never had an interest in discussing anything with them in terms of business.
he is interested in the Trump economy, because we're doing. Wait till you see when those factories start opening up. We have hundreds of factories all over the country, and that includes auto factories, AI factories, and every other. They're all coming in because they want to beat the tariffs. Because if they open here, they don't have to pay tariffs. If they don't open here, they have to pay, in some cases, 200%, 300%. I haven't even set some of the tariffs yet. I'll be setting tariffs next week and the week after on steel and on, I would say, chips.
Mr. President.
Chips and semiconductors. We'll be setting sometime next week, week after.
What are you looking at? What rate?
I'm going to have a rate that is going to be lower at the beginning. Then that gives them a chance to come in and build, and very high after a certain period of time. And if they don't build here, they have to pay a very high tariff, which doesn't work, so they'll come and build.
Mr. President, hi. You had said earlier...
I didn't see you over there. Isn't he a gentleman?
He's helping me out.
He's a very nice, he's one of the few nice ones, actually.
You had said earlier this week that Putin would face severe consequences if you get the sense from him that he's not interested. What do you mean by that?
Economically severe. Yes, it will be very severe. I'm not doing this for my health, okay? I don't need it. I'd like to focus on our country, but I'm doing this to save a lot of lives. Yeah, very severe. Thank you very much, everybody.
So he's not messing around. Putin's not messing around, and it's going to be quite the historical moment that we're about to experience in the next few hours. And when that does happen, when footage does start to get released, you can bet your butt that I'm going to be posting about it, and we're going to be talking about it, because this is huge. Russia has been deemed as this like ultra bad guy, and I'm not here to defend. I'm not here to say they are or not, but we do all know that with the way that our current trajectory is heading, if war did escalate, it would lead to it would just go until the inevitable nuclear bomb option, right? And once one is done, then everyone is launching theirs. It's just going to be a domino effect. And so I think that the only path forward is to absolutely de-escalate and for Russia to get a little piece of the pie of the American economy, whatever that looks, right? Through investments, through business transactions, because then they'll be making some more money and America would be making some more money. And that's kind of the only path forward, which is crazy because liberals and Democrats, leftists, they don't see it that way. They just view as like enemy or enemy, and we have to do everything to stick it to them. We have to boycott them. For crying out loud, when Russia and the Ukraine war broke out right when COVID kind of took place, or right after COVID, or whenever the hell that was, you had Canadian officials removing Russian liquor, Russian vodka off of the shelves. Like that's how Canada sticks it to other countries, right? Because they're doing the same thing with America right now, removing American liquor and stuff off the shelves. That's Canada's way of saying, "Oh, we're gonna stick it to you, pal. We're really gonna stick it to you. We're gonna boycott your liquor." It is something. But now we're gonna take a look at President Trump saying Mexico is America's bitch, and so is Canada, which hard to argue that, really.
They flowed into our country, and for the last 3 months we had none. And I didn't remember when Joe Biden used to always go, I need legislation. I had no legislation. I just said, we're closing the borders. And the whole world understood it because they respect your country again. They really respect this country again. They didn't respect it. When he said it, it didn't mean anything. But now they know it meant a lot. And Mexico does what we tell them to do, and Canada does what we tell them to do, because we have the two borders. We have the northern border, southern border, and they were both horrible. But now it's some people say it's a miracle. well, what Frank has done with Social Security also is something very special. But what we're doing with crime, which will be your next question, I guess, that's because everyone's they're afraid. Half of the people here, maybe all of the people here, most of you live in D.C., you are petrified to go out. And you're liberal, and if you're liberal, you're going to have to change. You're Democrats, you're going to have to change your ways. So we will have crime under control very shortly in D.C., but they're record numbers, and sadly, what I guess the mayor did, but whoever it was, they asked the numbers to be fudged so that it would show less crime than the fact. The fact is, it's worse than it's ever been, and we will have it just like we did at the border, where the borders are totally in great shape right now, the best ever, record-setting shape. We'll have the crime situation solved in D.C. very soon, and we're also going to beautify the city. We have a beautiful city, but you can't have graffiti, and you can't have roads with potholes, and you can't have the medians, the dividers in the roads falling down on the street. We're going to be beautifying the city, making it really beautiful. We're going to be getting the criminals the hell out of here. We don't want the criminals in Washington.
Yeah, nobody wants the criminals, and that's kind of the difference between America and other countries right now. Is America is willing to take action and do what needs to happen in order to solve a lot of these issues. But I'd love to know what you guys think about this entire situation between Russia and Trump meeting in Alaska, and then also, Trump saying that Mexico is the bitch of America, and so is Canada. Mexico does what we say, and so does Canada. That's sad to hear, but also not far from the truth. It's pretty much spot on, because all the posturing that our politicians are doing, like Mark Carney, like the premier, the fat pig with rabies in Ontario, Doug Ford, we're going to stick it to America and we're going to cut their power off like that. No, you're not, dude. And if you did, then you would probably see some military action. No bullets would be fired, but it'd be a display of force. And thankfully, we haven't gotten to that point. But liberals need to wake up and realize that you're not running the show. You're really not. It doesn't even matter if we have a liberal prime minister. When it comes to America, it's America running the show. America is running the world, actually. So love to know what you guys think down below in the comments about that. But I do want to take a look here briefly at this analyst who was invited on CTV to talk about what's going on with Trump and Putin with them meeting.
It's good to be with you, Roger. Thanks for having me.
Can we expect much to come out of this summit, or do we not know because it's Donald Trump?
We simply do not know. Every time we hear Donald Trump speaks, the goalpost continues to move. Where he is right, and what we do all agree on is with that Truth Social post, is that the stakes are in fact high. In fact, in a column that I wrote for CTV, I said this is Donald Trump's wobbly moment. We all, of course, remember that moment where UK's former Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher said to George H.W. Bush in the lead up to war with Saddam Hussein, "Don't go wobbly. Now's not the time to go wobbly." And clearly, now is not the time for Donald Trump to continue to give Vladimir Putin the kid gloves treatment, which we continue to see over and over. And that is why you had the unprecedented moment of European leaders as well as Volodymyr Zelensky actually meeting with Donald Trump in the lead up to this meeting to help navigate his course in the sit down with Vladimir Putin today.
How can the two of them come away from this with a win where neither can be seen blinking? Because I can't see either of them blinking, but how could they possibly come away with a win for both of them in this?
Well, already Vladimir Putin has won. He gets a meeting with the U.S. president on U.S. soil. So this is already a win for him. I think what we're seeing from Vladimir Putin also is an effort to try to stall on sanctions and other recriminations that may or may not be coming from the United States and Europe, while also continuing to incrementally advance on the battlefield in Ukraine. What, of course, Donald Trump wants more than anything is to deliver on his signature campaign promise, which is a ceasefire and a peace agreement. That simply is not going to happen today. The president himself has even walked that back. And we know already, because both Europe and Ukraine have already made clear that they will not negotiate land swaps for peace, that has put Donald Trump in a box in terms of what he can deliver today. And so I think what we're going to see from both men today is, of course, coming out of this, making clear that they are just continuing negotiations, continuing talks, talks while nothing actually happens. And what Donald Trump has said is he wants to see a three-way summit where Volodymyr Zelensky is brought to the table. Of course, the question becomes, will Putin actually agree to something like that? Russia has been very clear in terms of what it wants, and Putin has.
That's weird to try to put the onus on Putin, saying that Putin, he might not want to agree to that three-way discussion when Putin, I think, has already agreed, if tentatively agreed. And I think it's Zelensky that's the one that's a little bit more flaky and up in the air.
Made clear, too, that he is unwilling to meet with Zelensky because he simply doesn't see Zelensky as a credible leader.
Okay, Eric, thanks as always for.
I mean, it's hard to view Zelensky as a credible leader when he's basically, taking money from all the countries around the world to fight his fight and not really want to properly negotiate peace, right? This is a very complex ecosystem of things that are constantly changing and constantly moving. But today, all of that changes. So, this analyst right now that we just saw is pessimistic about the outcome from today. I'm having a different approach. I'm pretty optimistic. I think that this is going to be groundbreaking, right? I don't think that nothing is going to come of it. And I certainly don't think that actions are just going to not like, I don't think that this is just a meeting of words, which then will not follow actions. I think that the moment the meeting is over, it'll change the course of this war and you'll see maybe less attacks from Russia. Maybe there'll be a ceasefire. We don't really know what's going to happen, but what we do know is that all eyes are on Alaska for the remainder of the day. So I want to pass the question off to you one final time. What do you think the outcome from this is going to be?